has settled down. We are now what I'm calling a post-COVID investing world. And I wanted to kind of let investors know very quickly just some of the key points. Where are we at? Where are we going? A little bit of where we've been. So number one, the biggest thing that happened that was out there was when COVID came around in mid-March, our inventory levels of homes, regular home sellers started taking their properties off the market, which for us as investors was great. All of our properties were vacant. We all had 3D tours. Our properties were built for this COVID type environment. Okay. So, inventory levels were really low, and they're still lower right now, which is actually a really good thing for our investors. I would say that our market as a whole just continued to move on through March, and April and May. And we really didn't notice much of a difference, just that there were less homes that we were competing with. So that's a big thing. The other thing that I heard a lot was, you would hear on the news, it was a slow sales season. But the reason why it was slower, meaning there was less homes on the market. So you got to kind of put everything in perspective and realize, you hear on the news and you're like, man, it's a slow sales season. Yeah, a lot of people didn't want people coming through their homes during March, April, and May. And, even to today, people are still a little concerned about having somebody come through their home. So what do? They took their home off the market. If they didn't need to sell, they weren't going to sell. But the buyers were still out there looking for homes, and they still are today, which it really did surprise me, the volume of activity that was occurring. And I had reported in the past, every day, even to today, I get a report of all of the listings that we have are showing activity, how many properties are going on the market, how many are going under contract. This to me is a normal market. If I was to take 2019 and 18 and 17, we're pretty much right back to normal of where we would be at all price levels, everything that we have. Homes are selling. The one thing that we did notice, if you had homes in the very beginning of this whole process, like into March, the middle of March to probably the very beginning part of maybe the middle of May, if you had a home that was over $350,000, that was taking a little bit longer to sell. And there was less activity. And the reason being is it's the domino effect. You have a home, a person that has their home on the market or would have their home on the market at $250,000. They were not putting their home on the market. So as a result, they weren't moving up into that $400,000 house. So that's where we saw something where it was a little bit slower on the high end, but sub 350, everything was kind of cranking along. And now everything over 350 again is gangbusters. So we've got ourselves one good solid market right now. And I'll tell you, the one thing out of this whole thing, a home has become more valuable today than it was the pre-COVID event. Everyone is looking at a home as safe haven. Hey, if I've got to go through another quarantine in the future, my house better be tight. And so that's one thing where people are now looking at homes as being very, very valuable, or more valuable than they were the pre-COVID, and the amenities that a home has and things like that. So I think that's a biggest impact in our market is that the consumer is viewing this as such an important purchase and place. But again, like I said, we're seeing the higher homes. They're, for the last month, a little over a month, those have really rebounded. That's all kind of back to normal. I'm in pretty much a normal market right now. The one thing that I would say, and I think investors pay close attention to this, investors really need to know where to get good data, because there is so much stuff that's always getting thrown out there at us, from the news and different venues of Facebook, whatever it may be. And you're like, man, can I just get like the real dish on what's going on? And I'm going to give it to you right now. There's one space you can go to that's going to really tell you what's happening in a real estate market. and what prices are really at, because price is what this all comes down to. And I use the Case-Shiller, the home price index. And if you were to Google this, and I'll put this somewhere on here so you can see what the what to Google, but Google CHXRSA. Again, that's CHXRSA. All you need to do is just type it into your Google bar. This is going to pop up. This chart's going to pop up. And the home price index, why we use this, and you may not be a super charts and graphs person, I get it, but if you want real news and real information, this is where you're going to go. This tells you, as an investor, where our home price is going in the Chicagoland region. I've used this Case-Shiller home price index for years in the 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11. I wanted to know where our home price is going. Are they going up? Are they going down? Whatever it may be. It didn't really matter to me, the inventory levels and things like that, because that would all show up in what's the prices of homes. If there's low inventory, you're going to likely have a surge in prices. And if there's high inventory, prices come down. So I really want to go to the source. I need to look at one piece of data to really tell me a true story. And how Case-Shiller works, I'm not going to get into the complete details on how it is, and you can read up a little bit on it, but it's really, really interesting. And it guided me through 2007, 8, 9, 10, and 11. And I'm using it. I've been using it. And I use it really in between. I just want to know where home prices are at. But you pay maybe a little bit closer attention right now in environments like this. But what it does is it really takes a property that sold, let's say in 2005. It's taking a bunch of properties that sold in 2005. What are they selling for today? And it's starting to create an index number, and it'll tell you what it's not telling you what home prices are. It's an index. So it's giving you a number, and you can see, is this index going up or is it going down? And if it's going down, you can easily calculate and go, hey, home prices over the last 6 months went up 3%, or they went down 3%, or whatever it may be. This tells you a clear story of what's going on in the real estate market. You could listen to the news and they say, oh, home prices are dropping. Well, are they talking about Lake Forest, or are they talking about Joliet? What numbers are they using? I really need to look at the market as a whole. The one thing I can assure you is our market doesn't swing. If it's hot in Mundelein, Illinois, it's probably hot in Joliet, okay? Unless there was some event that occurred in that particular town, which I can tell you in 25 years of doing this, I haven't seen one town just suffer and the other one right next door to it is just absolutely taken off. Again, I work mostly in the suburbs. I can't say certain things that may happen in the city of Chicago itself, but the suburban area, that's what we see. So I would say, look at the Case-Shiller home price index. But how did I use it in 2007, 8, 9, 10, and 11 to guide me as an investor? Because we did really, really well in 07, 08, 09, 10, and 11. My investors were buying properties to buy, fix up, and sell, put them back on the market to resell them. And we did exceptionally well during a very tough time. But how I used the Case-Shiller home price index is I would look at it every month, every quarter, and then take a look at what where the index was at. And when I was listening to the news, everyone on the news was like, wow, home prices are dropping substantially. And, the market is crashing and all that. Well, in reality, you can go back and look at the Case-Shiller home price index right now and look at it. Home prices were dropping 3% every 6 months. Okay, so for us as investors, it didn't change. That did not change the complexion of a deal for us. I knew if I bought a property today and it was going to be worth $100,000 today, in 6 months from now, it would likely be worth $97,000. Okay, so it did decrease in value, but it didn't stop me from investing because it was real data funneling into me, looking at it, going, all right, so all I need to do is just adjust the value of our property 3% down, and you could watch it. Now, did our market go down more than 3%? Yes. Over a 5-year period at 6% per year, our market did drop during 2007, 8, 9, 10, and 11, and into 12, and then it started to rebound. But what we're seeing right now is we're still seeing a nice steady increase in value in real estate. And that's the part that I think a lot of investors, you need to get in there, look at the real data. It's not manipulated. It's not an opinion. It's not on this particular area. It's the Chicagoland area as a whole. And like I said, not one area way outperforms the other area in appreciation or prices and things like that. It's pretty constant overall. So that's the Case-Shiller Home Price Index. Google it, bookmark it. It's something you really want to know. If you own a house, you should be looking at the Case-Shiller Home Price Index just for your own personal knowledge versus trying to go into Zillow and look at what the price increases were or decreases on your property. That's not telling you a pretty good story of what's going on. So a couple little things that were out there that are always floating around. And I want to just kind of make things some clear. You know, everybody's saying, whoa, because of COVID, you know, people have lost their jobs. There's going to be high inventory of foreclosures and things like that. Unfortunately, there's not like some special buying opportunity in October of this year, okay? If a property, somebody defaults, stop making their mortgage payments right now for whatever reason, that's going to take a long time before the bank takes any action and actually forecloses on the property. And by the time it goes through the whole foreclosure process to hit back onto the market, that's we're talking at least 2 years, 3 years, 4 years before we see any real that there would be a few more foreclosures. I don't think that that's going to be the case. We're going to see this surge in foreclosures in 2, 3, or 4 years from now because the banks were smart this time. This isn't like 2007, 8, or 9 where the banks were like hot potato with loans. They're like, I don't want to make a loan. And the other bank says, I don't want to make a loan. Right now, if you are on a tough time and you're in a tough time, the banks have been doing loan modifications. They've been working out on deferments. If you call your bank right now and say, for whatever reason, I don't want to make a payment or I can't make a payment, they're likely going to work with you. And so that's what's happened with all the consumers. So because this was thought out and the banks thought this through and said, hey, if somebody doesn't make a mortgage payment, let's not just automatically, let's try to work it out with them. They're doing that, you know, because this is a special circumstance. This isn't something that only you're involved in. The whole world is involved in this event. So everybody's got, you know, is putting some common sense into parts of this whole event. So the other thing that I hear is people moving out of the city into the suburbs. And there's not going to be on I-90 or on the Eisenhower people with trucks and all their furniture on there heading out to the suburbs because they don't want to live in the city anymore. Yeah, maybe I've heard a few people say, you know, I just don't want to live in the city. I want to be out in the suburbs. But I don't think that there's going to be this big influx of people moving to the suburbs as a result of this. Over many years, maybe that be the case. Could something like this happen again or an event like that? And I want to have a yard and space to roam and things like that. That absolutely could happen. But again, it's not going to happen overnight. So if I was to make a comparison to this whole event, this is my 25th year doing investment real estate. So I've been around the block. The only thing I haven't seen in my career as of yet is high interest rates. The highest interest rates I've seen were at 8% back in like 95 and 96. I haven't seen, that was probably the only time I've seen interest rates higher, but I have not, I need to compare an event to another event. And if I was going to compare this to something, the COVID event was very similar to what happened to our real estate market on September 11th of 2001. It was kind of a hard stop. You know, it was like, hey, everything is closed down. You know, we're looking at it, trying to assess, you know, what's going to happen. What's the process? You know, how does this all play out? And our real estate market seems very similar to this, not like 2007, 8, 9, 10, or 11. Different event, much more drawn out, didn't happen overnight. This was a hard stop. And and everybody kind of sat back a little bit to wait and see. Surprisingly, our real estate market kept moving on during this COVID event, and our real estate market kept moving along during September 11th, after September 11th. And within about 4 months after September 11th, our market had really kind of stabilized and become what I would call a normal market. And we're seeing the same thing right now with real estate, and we're back to normalcy again. And there's going to be potentially other little events that occur. I think knowing what happened in the past, we now have a little bit better path how we navigate into the future. So do I think that there's a special buy opportunity right now? No, I don't. There's no special time to buy a great deal on a property. I think we're in a normal market, which to me makes us as investors, makes our businesses predictable and repeatable. And that's what I always say to our investors. I want to build a business on buying, fixing, and selling houses, or buying, fixing, and renting homes. I don't want to just be the investor, the flipper, or the landlord. I want to build a business around it. That's what I'd like to see my investors do. So I encourage you guys to check out that Case-Shiller Home Price Index. I think it's going to wow you. Bookmark it, look at it. That's the news. That's the facts. That's what's happening. And you got that kind of data at your fingertips. Everything else that's going on, I don't need the news to tell me what home prices or an opinion about it. I just need to know the data, and then I'll make my decision. Then a little bit of the gut comes in and goes into my investing mode. So as always, check out our website, chaseforeclosure.com. And you guys know you can always reach out to me, and I love getting phone calls, and emails and stuff like that, about questions on this stuff. I am more than happy to kind of guide you guys through what am I seeing, what's good, what's bad, and keeping you in the loop with some good information. So again, thanks for tuning in.